Brothers and sisters, this week's Sunday's Gospel is very challenging to all of us, especially it speaks about the discipleship of Christ. However, there are certain words that might really disturb us, what they actually mean. Words such as hate, carry up one's own cross, or renounce. These words just characterize today's Gospel. These are harsh words, indeed. They are used to describe the discipleship of Jesus, obviously. Before we get scared hearing this passage, it is good to know and understand the background of the text and what made the author of the text use such language to describe the discipleship of Jesus. First of all, it is important to know that it is written by a person who was not a direct disciple of Jesus, or rather a close associate of St. Paul. St. Paul himself has never seen Jesus, right? Someone who has experienced the life of St. Paul than the life of Jesus himself first-handly, and that was Luke, who wrote this gospel. And it was written quite a long time after the death and resurrection of Jesus, around 65 to 70 in the Common Era. However, here the background is that Luke, like other gospel writers, was experiencing persecution in his times. The persecution of the early Christians, and becoming a Christian in a scenario where there were a number of gods and religions was not an easy task for them. So the theme about discipleship played a central role. The words like hate, which actually in the original Greek language meant to prefer something, or taking up one's own cross meant to undergo the most hardest difficulties of life. And the word renounce referred mainly to the wandering preachers who were getting ready to go as missionaries to different parts of the world. So the discipleship of Christ, like any other discipleship, meant or it means a process of self-emptying and making choices and decisions in order to be faithful to Christ and his message. And obviously, the message of Christ in the world has always been a revolutionary. His message aimed at highlighting the dignity of every human person. His message highlighted the mercy and love of God, which clearly places certain demands from a person to be a follower of Jesus. Now, whether Jesus wants us to hate our families or be truly martyred by shedding our blood, or renounce everything that we have possessed through our hard work and God's blessings, is to be applied individually to different situations and contexts. It would be a different application when it comes to people who truly decide to become wandering preachers, nuns, or monks, and it would be different for people who live within their families. However, what is important is that we remain faithful to the message of Christ and live with convictions the values that Christ has given us through his life and his message. Often we might highlight and think that fullness and perfection of following Jesus lies only in becoming a monk or a nun, or foregoing all sorts of human relationships, or even we might go to the extent of demonizing the nature's gift and fall into the mistaken interpretation of the discipleship of Christ. But perfection of following Jesus is possible and lies in every form of life. either one is married, lives within a family, with all human relationships, or even one decides to become a priest, monk, or an everywhere, you can follow Christ, and there is perfection in that. You cannot compare and keep one form of life on a higher stature than the other. But perfection of following Jesus is possible, as I said, everywhere. So what is important is that we be convinced of his message and we live that message in our lives, and that is how we become true disciples or followers of Jesus. Therefore, let us just pray and ask for the wisdom of the Lord, as we have heard in the first reading. The wisdom that will help us to learn what pleases the Lord. Amen. Thank you, and God bless you on this Sunday. Ciao. Bye-bye.